Hey guys, what is up? It is me, Pagey, here once again with another video on Legends of Tomorrow Season 4. And this is going to be my review for Episode 7 for this season, otherwise entitled, Hell No, Dolly. But of course, before we get into the rest of the video, be sure to have watched the episode before you, continue on, because it's going to be spoiler talking. Man, there's some stuff happen in this episode that I really wasn't expecting. It's pretty crazy, actually, what happens towards the end. It sort of really caught me off guard. Even though they were suggesting and sort of hinting at it as we got into like the back half, I was still sort of very surprised that it happened. But if you have watched the episode and are continuing on, be sure to drop a like on the video to show support for the Legends stuff, and let me know in the comment section down below your general opinions on what you thought on this episode. But last episode was really basically a filler episode for the most part. From my viewpoint at least, the whole point of the episode was just to get Nate's dad into the Wave Rider, do some time travel, all that. Just let him have an experience doing that. Got to see a Minotaur, which was pretty cool. So that was my thoughts on the episode. But this episode starts off with a Constantine love scene, which sort of caught me off guard. But the whole point of it was to push the narrative and just general intentions with certain characters in this episode. So it made sense that this is what kicked it off. But essentially, it's with that guy that we've seen Constantine having like visions of. Now, basically, I was like unsure because he didn't look like anyone from the Constantine TV show, so I just thought he was someone random. But everyone's saying, oh, they've recast Manny from Constantine. I was like, is that being confirmed? And everyone was saying, no, it's just, that's what it is. It's an obvious recast. And I was like, okay. And I just went with the flow with that. But this isn't Manny. It's some guy called Desmond or Des. But obviously, we'll talk about that as we move on. But yeah, that wasn't Manny, as everyone was saying. But anyway, Charlie, aka Amaya 2.0, her shapeshifting isn't permanently gone. So we see that she can sort of shapeshift, but it's like taking a lot of her abilities. Like she's really pushing hard to shapeshift. At the beginning, we only see her like sort of like change her eye a bit, but the fact that she can shapeshift even like 1% means that it's not gone. So it can either be reversed or she's going to be able to tap back into it at some point. But we do find on like much later in the episode that Charlie is essentially like reborn every single time she shapeshifts. So say she's Queen Elizabeth and she stays Queen Elizabeth for like a year. If she shapeshifts to Amaya or shapeshifts to Mick or something like that, it's essentially like a reborn sort of thing, or rebirth. That's the best way to put it. Reborn. But the longer she stays in a certain thing, she ages, and it's obviously not good for her, and her being stuck as Amaya is not good for her, life, I guess. So essentially that's what drives her to helping Constantine, is the fact that she might be able to get her abilities back and be able to just rebirth herself over and over again. We do see Garima still around, which I thought was pretty random, but we see that Mick was still using that book, which he obviously stole from Constantine. Unfortunately for Mick, and it sort of drives like a side plot, which I really didn't care about in this episode, to be completely honest. It was just there to basically fill some time, I guess, between Mick and Ava and some tension there. Essentially, Ava takes the book and puts it with the Time Bureau because it's like property and evidence and all that. So Mick's not happy about that and uses the C word like a naughty boy. So did find it funny that Ray had the moustache in this episode. I'm not too sure if that was a jab at Henry Cavill and his moustache, because obviously Brandon Routh, who plays Ray Palmer, played Superman. So I don't know if it was meant to be like a Henry Cavill sort of joke. I don't know, but he grew it for Nora, but I think the whole point of it was to have like a bit of a in-joke with the whole Justice League Superman thing. Anyway. But in this episode, in regards to the time traveling aspect, we're off to New Orleans. Like in regards to time traveling a decent way back. We're off to New Orleans in the mid-1800s. I love New Orleans. I've always loved the feel of it. I want to go there. Hopefully I can go there next year. It's one place I've always wanted to go. It just looks so much different than anywhere else you could possibly go in America. But New Orleans, one of my most wanted to go to places, if that's proper English. But we go there in the 1800s and we meet the ancestors of Des, or Desmond. And that ancestor is actually Marie Laveau, who has been changed due to an aberration, or not an aberration, due to a fugitive in time, to be actually one of the most notorious serial killer in American history, which is crazy because obviously in history that's not her. But the whole thing that sort of brings Marie Laveau into the story in regards to connections to other characters is that Constantine actually has a medallion that Des gave him that has sort of like a protection spell on it. But like that storyline is actually wrapped up really quickly in this episode. Like I think it was halfway through the episode that they were out of New Orleans in the 1800s. And I was like, okay, that's really surprising. I thought it would be in there for a decent amount, but okay then. But they did actually make a reference to Angela Bassett having an Emmy-nominated performance as Marie Laveau, which is actually from American Horror Story Season 3, aka Coven. So I'm a big American Horror Story fan, so I thought that reference was pretty cool. But while we're in New Orleans, we find out that the fugitive, is a Dybbuk. I think it's a Dybbuk because isn't that like the Dybbuk box, like the whole like the Hebrew sort of like spirit box thing? Was it a Dybbuk? Because it sounded sometimes like they were saying Divik, but I'm pretty sure they were saying Dybbuk. Let me know in the comments, but I'm pretty sure they're saying Dybbuk. But essentially, this Dybbuk was possessing dolls, which is extremely creepy. And their thoughts were that it was the spirit of Mike the Spike, a serial killer. But that moves on pretty quickly, and in the actual Wave Rider, we actually see the Dybbuk move to the puppet of Martin Stein, which, if you're still a bit, down from Martin Stein's death last season, that might be a bit triggering, but it was pretty funny, especially hearing that voice come out of the Martin Stein doll. But we do find out that Dez was actually collateral from an incident involving Neron. Now, he is a demon from DC Comics lore. We did actually talk about him before this season started for Legends, that he could be a possible villain because he has been a foe against Constantine in the past. But we do actually find out that John or Constantine sent Dez to hell in order to send Neron down as well. So I guess the big question is whether Neron is the villain. Was he the one that attacked John at the end of episode 1 and wrote on the mirror and stuff like that? Or is it like a combination of Dez and Neron as well? You have to think it's just Neron, or Neron, however you want to pronounce him. I'm just going to call him Neron because why not? Let's go with that pronunciation. But it's episode 7 now. We have the mid-season finale for Legends next week. You think that would be really, really hinting at the villain for the whole season at this point? So I'd have to say he is the villain, but it'd be interesting to see how he looks on the show and just how he's handled as well. And also the threat level, like what's his big overall plan? Is it just to target John, or is it for everyone else? Because if it's just to target John or Constantine, I can see people having an issue with that. But hopefully it's a bit bigger. Maybe it's to unleash a lot of things from hell, like a lot of monsters and stuff. That'd be pretty cool. Speaking of monsters, we have Mona and the werewolf in this episode, which, it was okay. I think the whole point of it was just to get Mona scratched, which we see. I think that's literally the whole point of it. I did think it was funny that, Gary thought Mona had the hots for him, but it was actually she had a hot for a werewolf. Imagine that. Hey, you get rejected for a werewolf. That'd be pretty hard to take. But Gary was a bit weird. Gary just I have seen a lot of people have an issue with Gary this season, where maybe he's in the season too much. I can sort of agree with that. I just feel like he worked better last season as a guest character and just sort of he popped up every handful of episodes. But him being in every episode, I think. Gary was a bit of a meme, but you can't have a meme around all the time, otherwise it just becomes not that funny. So hopefully they, in the back half, maybe they were able to get a bit of a sense of how the audience was reacting to so much Gary in the season, and maybe they can tone him down a bit and just maybe have him. You can have him in every episode if you want, but maybe just literally a scene or a pop-up or a cameo in every episode. I just think there might be a bit too much Gary, but let me know what you think of that in the comment section down below, because it seems to be pretty divisive in regards to his character's role this season. But we do see Charlie and Constantine time travel to stop Constantine meeting Dez, which it doesn't work. He still meets Dez, so it's almost like it's fate that they're meant to meet, it's just meant to happen, so that's just something they can't avoid. So basically the plan B after this is for Constantine to just end it with Dez, and end it in a pretty abrupt and just sort of nasty way, to be completely honest. But as soon as he does this, John breaks the timeline, because Zari was warning, if you do this, then you don't do this, then you don't join the Legends, then blah, blah, blah. All this stuff doesn't happen, and it's just cataclysmic. It basically, time just folds on itself, and that's exactly what happens. So the effect was sort of weird. It just sort of exploded from the source of John stuffing up there. But we see, basically everyone on the Wave Rider, including the puppet, get thrown around. We see Mona, after getting scratched from the werewolf, getting chucked up. And then more specifically on the jump ship, we actually see Charlie getting her powers back, but Zari, in the most random of things, becomes a cat. I'm intrigued to see what happens next episode in regards to Zari the cat. I wonder if it's going to be a Salem sort of thing from the comedy TV show, Sabrina the Teenage Witch from the 90s, whether she'll be able to talk. If that's the case, I'm in for Zari the cat. Actually, I want multiple episodes of Zari the cat if that's the case, with Tala Ash just with the voice acting and stuff like that. We didn't get a hint as to what everyone else is doing. I think we're meant to get all the Legends becoming puppets next episode. This is because next week's episode is the big Elseworlds crossover. Essentially, the Legends episode is crazy, and there's going to be multiple versions of the Legends meeting each other. So I think we're going to have puppet versions of the Legends meeting the normal Legends, and just other random stuff like that. So I'm incredibly intrigued to see what happens there in regards to all of that. I think it's going to be pretty crazy, to be completely honest. But overall, I thought, there were some side stories in this episode I thought were pretty forced, like the whole Mick and Ava stuff. Like, it was okay watching, thought it was pretty forced. Like, the Mona stuff was basically just to get her scratched so she becomes a werewolf or gets some sort of werewolf abilities and traits. The Constantine one, I thought was decent. However, I can see people having an issue with that because some people are going, oh, this is just Constantine season 2 and they're just taking Legends away from it. For me, I don't personally feel that because I do feel like the show is still Legends just with Constantine added on. So it's not that big of an issue for me, but I can understand some people having that. I thought the whole puppet thing was pretty cool. Creepy, but cool as well. The puppetry work I thought was pretty cool as well. Having Martin Stein as well back as like an evil puppet that was pretty random as well. But I think I'm more interested to see what happens like next week as well. Like, I thought New Orleans was sort of wasting the episode, but I guess they just wanted to keep it contained on the Wave Rider as we moved forward and just have Constantine and Charlie out in the field doing their illegal activity because it wasn't really, allowed or, nodded upon from everyone else. But yeah, I thought it was an okay episode. Didn't think it was one of the stronger episodes of the season, but I still enjoyed parts of it. I just thought some of it was just a bit meh and just forced to fill in time. But yeah, next week should be crazy and I cannot wait for it. But thanks for watching, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, it'd be awesome if you could drop a like on it to show support. Let me know in the comment section down below your various opinions on this episode. Did you like it? Did you not like it? What was your favorite part? What parts didn't you like too much? Do you agree with what I've been saying in this review? Just leave all that in the comment section down below. And of course, if you are new to the channel, make sure to subscribe. I'll catch you later, guys. Goodbye.